It was one of those things that I know no one will believe, but I swear I saw it. The other rangers, the young guys who don't believe much of anything, think I was just dehydrated. Maybe I was. If I don't believe what I saw, though, all I have to do is look at the old guys, the veterans of 1,000 lost kids and a decade of search and rescue missions, to know that they understand. Weird stuff happens out here. It's not something that everyone will get. For me, it was a lighthouse. It all started with a missing hiker, Clarence Young. He was about 22 and had just finished his 3rd year of med school. He was tall, about 6'2", muscular, an athlete who loved to run and hike and spend time outdoors. All of this had been told to us by his mother, as she cried and wailed and handed out pictures. He'd been hiking one of the mountains in the area, a regular enough climb that it wasn't terribly strenuous, but no one had heard from him in about 3 days, and the area had been heavy with rain and lightning storms for 2 of those days. He always calls when he's on a long hike. Always. He hasn't called in 3 days. I just know something is wrong. The brass thought she might be right, or maybe they just got tired of listening to her cry. They told us to spread out and look for the kid, and I think they were hoping for a happy ending. The kid had a bright future, and they wanted to make sure he got to enjoy it. We had 2 rangers out on light duty, and another 2 out on vacation, so we were hunting in single-man units. Presley, you've got the North Woods. Wayland, you've got the Southern Bog. Manderley, you've got the old trail by the homestead. Gavris, you've got the field. I groaned, but Wayland blew out a breath like a disinterested horse. Quit your belly aching. Least you're not the one that's got to go tromping through the damn bog. I'll never get all the hitchhikers out of my pants cuffs, and I can already feel the inside of my boots getting wet. I realized he was right, but still, the field was massive. The field was a pocket of hay and timothy grass, some of it growing with wild wheat and clover, too. It was thick, and it butted up on the mountain on the southern base. It could be treacherous, and I wasn't looking forward to traveling it on foot until the boss gave us a bit of good news. Since you're in single-man units, I'm sending you out in bobcats. We whooped happily. Nothing was better than the bobcats. The bobcats were somewhere between a golf cart and an ATV. They ran on diesel and had big all-terrain tires. They weren't very fast, but they were sturdy, and they were better than walking. Suddenly, the field didn't seem so bad. Wayland would have to leave his bobcat on the edge of the bog so he could check it. He told us to go get keys and supplies and warned us to, for God's sake, bring plenty of water. Global warming isn't doing us any favors, people, and it's probably triple digits out there already. Make sure you are hydrated. The last thing I need is one of you dropping out from a heat stroke, so we have to go get you, too. So, we split off, taking the bobcats out to the area around the small mountain range that I will keep unnamed. The field lives up to its name, and if you've never seen a large, undisturbed field of hay or wheat or tall grass, then it probably won't make a lot of sense. It was massive, close to 90 acres, and it swayed placidly. It was like a sea, like an ocean of grass, and it was a little dizzying to look at as I watched it move. I didn't think we'd find him in here. Why would he come in here? But it was worth a look, just in case. I didn't dare drive the bobcat through the grass. That would be a great way to hit a rock and wreck it. So I stuck to the outside of the field and rode the long way around it. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I figured I would know it if I saw it. Maybe Clarence had cut through the field to get away from something, or he'd fallen and been disoriented and gotten lost in the field. Either way, I figured if I was going to see something, it would pop up and make its presence known. A cast-off shoe, some pushed-down grass, an abandoned backpack, something to let me know that he'd been there. I kept driving, eyes focused on the sea of waving grass, and that was how I failed to see the real tire killer of a rock sitting on the edge of the field. I hit it hard enough to nearly flip the buggy over, and when the bobcat began making a god-awful noise and clumping along, I knew I'd shredded a tire. I pulled over, checked the tire, and sure enough, it was popped. I hadn't bent the axle, so that was good. But now I was stuck out in the endless grass field with nothing to do but report what had happened. I hopped on the radio and let dispatch know what I had done, and they told me that it could be an hour before anyone got out there to get me. I groaned, thought about just walking back, and decided it might be a bad idea to just go tromping off in the heat. The bobcat had an air conditioner. Well, it had a fan, and I sat on the front seat and sweated as the fan did very little to keep me cool. This sucked. I was stuck about 10 miles out from the station, with nothing to do and nowhere to go, and it was so hot out. I started drinking the water I had brought, mostly to have something to do, and I think that was the first time I saw it. I was bringing the water bottle up, the water making the things on the other side wavy, and I caught sight of something strange. I expected it to go away as the bottle came back down, just a distortion from the texture of the bottle, but it stayed as the plastic lens came away from my eye. I blinked. Couldn't be what it looked like, but there was nothing else that it could be. It was the top of a lighthouse. I'd seen lighthouses before, but never in person. I'd seen them in pictures and recognized the metal walkway around the top with that big light inside. It wasn't lit, at least it didn't appear to be with the sun overhead, but the thing that held the light was definitely spinning. I don't know the terminology behind a lighthouse, sorry, but I was pretty sure that there wasn't supposed to be one in a field of grass. As hot as it was, I found myself intrigued. I got out of the bobcat and started walking towards it. I stepped into the grass and just let it engulf me as the tower grew closer with every step. I expected it to disappear before I could reach it, some kind of mirage or something, but it just grew out of the tall grass like a tumor. It was made of gray brick, the observation deck up top all black metal and black railing, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger the closer I got. Thunder rumbled suddenly, making my hair stand on end. I jumped when I heard the distant sound of thunder, and that was about the time I realized that the storm clouds were beginning to gather. That wasn't uncommon, and had been thundering and lightninging for the past 2 days, but the sky had been a perfect robin's egg blue before I started the walk towards the lighthouse. The clouds were gathering around it as I came to the base, swirling like they had been called, and as the drops came down, I saw the heavy iron door and made a beeline for it. Luckily, it was unlocked, and I went inside just as the rain started coming down in buckets. I could hear it against the stones of the old lighthouse, and when I turned around, I saw a spiral staircase leading to the observation deck. There wasn't really anything in the lighthouse besides those stairs, so I climbed them. What else was I supposed to do? I somehow knew that I wasn't supposed to go back outside, not just yet, and I kind of wanted to see what the wide field of grass looked like from up there. I climbed for what felt like too long, but I suppose it couldn't have been more than about 10 minutes. There were no windows to let me know how tall the tower was exactly, but as I came to the top, I could swear I heard something other than rain. It sounded like waves were hitting the side of the lighthouse, instead of the thick drops of rain that had been falling when I came in. I came out onto the observation deck and found myself looking down into a sea of grass that was being overtaken by an ocean. The water overtook it, hammering against the lighthouse, and as the grass floated placidly in the water, something moved beneath it. It was huge and glowing, like a worm or some kind of parasite, and it moved through the water like an eel or the long tentacles of a squid. They pulsated like an infected tooth, red and orange and yellow, and as I watched, they spread out to wide corners of the grass field and beyond. The thunder overhead seemed to illuminate it with every strike, and I could see a terrible eye in the middle of its elongated body. The eye was looking at me, and as I backed away from the railing, the drops making circles in the water, I must have tripped because I fell backwards down the stairs. It felt real enough when I hit them, but after a few hard slugs to the head, I passed out. I have no idea if I ever reached the bottom. I woke up in the infirmary, and the other rangers were pretty happy to see me awake. "We found you on the edge of the grass field. You got dehydrated and fell over. What were you thinking? It's triple digits out there." I tried to tell them about the lighthouse and the glowing thing, but they all just said I must have fallen down and hit my head or something. They say it, but I think the older ones know something. I asked Jacob about it later, when I saw him sitting on the porch after dark, and he just shrugged at me. "I had told you about the weirdness around here, remember? This place is old, kid, older than any of us. There are things out there that have been here since time was new, and will walk the ashes once we burn it all down. Be glad you discovered something and were allowed to walk away. Not everyone is so lucky." He left not long after, and now I'm sitting on the porch and staring at the stars. I don't know if I feel lucky or not, but I'm glad that whatever lay beneath the water let me go. Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. I'm glad you made it to the end of the story. Thanks for stopping by. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, well, there should be some links popping up at the end of this to other great stories, maybe even some great playlists that you can discover. We update 7 nights a week, so there's always something new and something spooky waiting for you on the channel. If you like your spooky a little more tactile, there should be some links to Amazon down in my description, so go have a look over there. It should get you to all my latest books. Speaking of books, I've got my first horror novel, Towesey Homestead, available for purchase on Amazon. It's my first horror novel, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd go give it a look and maybe give it a buy too. If you'd like to support the channel, we have a subscription program here on YouTube, but we've also got a Patreon with lots of tiers and lots of different rewards. For example, our Spooky Skeleton contributors get their spooky 12 hours early. That's right, they get their videos at 8:30 a.m. as opposed to 8:30 p.m. Ghostly Reader tier contributors, that's a tier that's only available on Patreon, I'm afraid, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep, hopefully in a timely manner. So, however you support the channel, whether it's monetarily or by enjoying our great videos here, thank you so much. Speaking of patrons, before we go, let's go ahead and thank them. Thanks to Sara, Unicorn Hollow, JustAmy, and Cinnamon Fox for being our spooky ghost contributors. Thanks to Shannon McGhee, Janet, Lee Kendall, Ronda J, Sue Casper, Valinar, Cleo Harper Returns, Sara, and Queen Sheebah for being our spooky skeleton contributors. And thanks to Oh Snap, Winter, Xaronan, Stephanie Carrington, Tyler Parker, Grim Reaper, TomboiTopUwU, Queen Sheebah, MissNewBooty, and Alex Connor for being our Ghostly Reader tier contributors. Thanks, everyone. We just couldn't do the show without you. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.